Chris, I have a question for you. What is the difference between entrepreneurs who reach extreme growth and the ones who don't?
Well, it's already in the word. It's called extreme. And for that, you have to be extreme. And you have to be extreme in your intention. And that's where I see the biggest difference is a lot of entrepreneurs hope that someday they are exploding into a company with 10 million, 100 million in revenue. That will never happen. You only get lower than your goals. Ever.
Why do I feel called out like here? Okay, continue, please.
So the entrepreneurs I worked with who are very, very intentional and actually very aggressive and extreme in their intentional and not aggressive in terms of like taking advantage of things, but really intentional, doing extreme things, also being unreasonable, like asking for things other people wouldn't ask for. Like you are never ready for that next phase. It's never going to happen. So the only thing you have to do to get there is to also be extreme and bold in asking for things. And it will happen that in a lot of cases, you don't know how you will solve it.
Until
if you're intentional in making it happen, it will work out.
But there's a difference between that, I feel, and fake it until you make it. Like this is not at all what you're talking about. You're talking about people who know their product and what they're building. They just don't know the steps to get to that extreme growth, right?
Yeah, I think a very tangible example is back in the days when I had my agency and I wanted to become an international speaker. I didn't say to people, maybe someday I will be. I was like, you know what? I'm going to speak at 50 conferences this year. And for me, it doesn't matter if it's for 5 people or 5,000. I'm going to speak at least 50 conferences. So if you organize a conference or if you know somebody who has a conference, introduce them and we'll make it happen.
You said 50.
Yeah.
Did you actually speak at 50 conferences in a year?
I think it was 63.
In a year?
Yeah.
Wow. That's extreme. Okay. That is extreme behavior. But
what happened? Wow. Everybody saw me everywhere. So you see him once, you see him twice, and you see him 3 times, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's logical. Like something is happening over there. But below the surface, it was very extreme in intention.
I love that. I love that approach. And like you said, they think of, we need a speaker who's going to talk about this. This guy is everywhere. Let's invite him. Like, let's get him. Even if you don't start with all of the security and confidence, of course, with anything you're building, anything you're taking to the extreme. So to someone listening who has doubts about, let's say, public speaking, like they want to speak at 50 is extreme, but let's say 10. And they think, I'm not quite ready. Like, do you just push them into it? Like, rip off the Band-Aid, whatever phrase, or is there a slower way to get into it?
Well, it depends if you ask my clients or not, because the people I'm working with, like they work with me because I have this straight Dutch, no bullshit approach. Tell them how it is and just do it like that. But I think you can be extreme, intentional, but also be extremely smart. So what I didn't pitch conference organizers, but hey, I want to speak at your conference. What I did, I first went to all the speakers that I know from the speaker circuit in that particular industry. I asked them, which topic are you speaking about? And then the question came that I think made all the difference. What's the one topic nobody is speaking about, but should be on stage?
Oh, wow. Yeah, so reverse engineering
and then
the conference.
I saw a pattern in that, and that was my pitch for a conference organizer. In other words, I brought value because their program got elevated because I brought an angle nobody was covering yet.
That's so, like you said, it's not just about being extreme and working 24/7. It's about extremely smart decisions. I really like that. I want to talk about 2045. We talked about this before the recording. You have an extreme goal for 2045. It's to hit 100 million plus in net worth, right?
So my portfolio of companies will have a net worth of over 100 million.
Now, this is a goal you set 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, in 2020.
What drove you before or during the pandemic? I believe that's a big...
I mean, it was before the pandemic.
Before, okay. So it wasn't like the world is coming to an end, I need to do something extreme. This was something that was very, very intentional.
Yeah, it was intentional because I'm a big fan of reading books, listening to podcasts, these type of things. So then I read the book, the 25-year framework of Dan Sullivan.
Okay.
And basically what he said is like, people can do one thing for 1 year or 2 years, but after that they change again and they change again. But what if for 25 years you would focus on one thing and become extremely, extremely competent at that? And for me, the one thing I love to do is to get people faster from A to B. Back in the days we called it growth hacking, but in its essence, I can see the patterns that are working and what's not working, and how, like, what's the shortest way from A to B. So if I can come into companies, help them do that, and not be paid by the hour, but paid in equity, if I compound that over 25 years, like, I think it's mathematically, there's a pretty high chance
It's likely even, yeah.
the compound will be 100 million. And all seriousness aside, like, if inflation keeps going like this, it's not that of a bold goal anymore.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. No, I love this story. I wanted to mention it during the conversation because, yeah, like you said, set your mind on something and do it for 25 years. Like, you can be anything in 25 years if you just focus and spend your time practicing that skill or putting in the work. So what is the biggest challenge you see in companies that are trying, or entrepreneurs that are trying to go extreme growth, but they're not making it? Like, yeah, you said you need to be extreme, but is there anything else?
Yeah, I would, like, normally I would say extreme in intention. But I think a derivative of that, if it's not working, I think brutal honesty is very important. You say you want it, but are your actions meeting what you're speaking? And I always tell people, like, you don't have to be extreme. It's called extreme because, like, it's only for the outliers.
Right.
So it's okay if you say, you know what, I just want to build a company that grows 10, 20% per year. I have a certain lifestyle, like, amazing. But again, I'm all about being intentional in what you want. Because I think in this world where we're living in right now, it's already extreme to design life on your own terms.
Sadly, that is probably true. But yeah, man, I'm so inspired. Like, I wasn't prepared for so many inspiring things. We're only 7 minutes in. So, like you said, extreme is an outlier, and it's okay not to be extreme. But at some point, if you need to be honest with yourself and say, okay, the thing that I really badly want and I think I want, no, that's not happening. Let's do something else that's less extreme or more common or more normal. So both are fine. It's just about, do you have that drive and that itch to do the extreme things to get the extreme goals? I really like that. Yeah. So how did you get into this mindset? How did you get the mindset?
Well, I think the origin story was when the day I got birth, when I got into this world, when during labor, like, I got into a C-section and they actually cut into my head.
Oh no.
So I think that was one of the first exposures to very extreme circumstances. So I think somehow, like, I always joke about my Harry Potter scar that I have on my head. But I think that was the first step where I got exposed to, extremes in that sense. So somehow you could say it comes natural, but it's like, I've tasted it, how nice it is to push yourself, but literally survive.
I think this was one of the most inspiring short interviews I've done in this podcast. I have to be very honest. I was not ready for this kind of amount of knowledge in such a short time. Chris, thank you so much.